The Saints are 2-0 by a total of 4 points, and they're 2-point dogs in Green Bay this week. Aaron Jones practicing Thursday.
Yeah, this is the Mao Zedong game because, like the Packers are publicly owned. That's all I had.
Oh, good. That's nice.
Yeah, okay, so.
That's well thought out.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I ain't got me nobody. I ain't got me no. I got the green light, baby.
I hate buying tickets. I've been playing my whole life, never had to worry about buying tickets. The ticket part is stressful. The game's stressful. The ticket part's really stressful. Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. And with the Game Time app, it's easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. If I'm trying to see the monster trucks for my kids or Willie Nelson for me and my kids, I can find it all in the Game Time app. Game Time is the fastest growing ticketing app in the country for a reason. Get images of your seat before you buy so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Buy tickets in a matter of seconds. 2 taps, you're all set. Tickets are sent directly to your phone. You never have to dig through your email. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code GREENLIGHT for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code GREENLIGHT for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Let's get into our previews. And we asked the guys, some people like the tiering system. I don't know.
People love
some
the
people
tiering.
didn't love the tiering system probably. Last week it was adult film actors, tiers 1, 2, and 3. We won't go back through that, but let's pick a new tier. We asked the guys to bring us a couple subcategories to pick from. Guys, what do you got? We have our own that we're pretty sure we're going to roll with, but maybe you guys can pull off an upset.
My suggestion is, looking at the slate, we have an under weekend. There's going to be a lot of
Okay.
unders. I'm thinking under the line. I'm thinking short.
Short Kings.
Could be short Kings. I went short athletes. So our top tier is Lionel
That's good.
Messi, the GOAT.
Yeah.
Middle tier, Spud Webb.
Okay.
7 points a game, 6 assists.
That's pretty good.
Bottom tier is your Doug Flutie games.
Oh, the Doug Flutie disrespect.
Well,
Remember those extra points, those drop kicks?
Yeah, I do.
Very cool.
I do.
Flutie flakes.
Okay, that's pretty good.
All right.
Matt?
I went with blue collar jobs.
Oh, nice. Save that. Put that in the back pocket for another week because that's pretty good. Okay, Reed?
I went Denver Broncos themed, Russell Wilson, Sierra, and Future. I haven't decided which is the bottom between
think
Russell Wilson
Future's
and
top.
I
Future.
think it's Russell.
Oh,
would be
okay.
bottom.
So Sierra's not number one.
I don't know.
I think Sierra's in the middle. You know what I'm saying, players? Y'all know what I'm saying?
Nope. I don't.
Okay.
I wonder what the depth of target is. Anyways, we'll Russell's a shallow drop guy now.
Yep.
Okay, so anyways, we're gonna go tier. Pitch me your idea.
All right. U.S. presidents.
Okay, can I expand it to world leaders a little bit?
Okay.
Just for one or
I
two.
thought about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure. But, this Honest Abe Lincoln is seemingly unassailable.
Yep.
A top tier sort of guy.
Yep.
And then you got plenty of bad presidents. And then you got your sleepy Joe Bidens,
Yeah.
Could be a good game.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it won't be.
Okay, I kind of like just naming each game after a president
Okay. All right.
or a world leader.
Okay.
Okay, let's just
You've
go
always been a
until-
high motor guy.
Let's go until we run out.
All righty.
Okay, so what's our first game?
Titans are at the Browns.
Yeah.
Titans.
This game's the John Quincy Adams game. It's ugly. John Quincy Adams was unsightly.
I already love
Fucking
this.
look at this guy. Look at John Quincy Adams.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, maybe it should be the Martin Van Buren game.
There you go.
That's a little worse.
Yeah, it's nightmare fuel.
Yeah, that's a tougher head shape.
I think my kids saw Martin Van Buren peeking out of the closet last night. Like that's disgusting. That's scary. All right, so this game's going to be gross. The Steelers. I mean, okay, we're not talking about the Steelers, but the Steelers and the Browns played Monday night. The Steelers are playing the Raiders. So of the two options there on a short week, the Raiders or the Tennessee Titans, which is like, I mean, these guys are a rolling ball of butcher knives.
It hurt.
It hurts to play these guys. The Browns thankfully hosting Tennessee. The Titans have had luck, okay? No Kamara first week, no Eckler second week, no Chubb this week. Everybody knows why. And by the way, did you think dirty play?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so either. But God, like you turn on the internet and it almost changes your mind. There's so many people. Beware of the internet. The Browns offense, they signed Kareem Hunt, $4 million, 1 year. Ford did a good job. I do think Pittsburgh's run defense without Cam Hayward in there, I gave him credit for being scrappy, but they got smaller guys in there. That was a tough matchup for them, but Ford went off. Obviously, the one run was a lot of it.
And it was busted.
Yeah, so I'm not like a big Browns guy, but, you know, Deshaun's got to get his completion percentage up. The efficiency's not there. He's just hovering north of 50%. He had the pick six last week, the sack fumble, which aren't really all on him, but he has always carried the ball like a loaf of bread. Right, and I didn't think I didn't think the pick six. I thought the pick six was tipped. So, you know, I was just watching all 22. I had to miss that one because I was in transit. So, you know, like that's going to be the thing. Is like, can you take care of the football? This is a game where it's going to be trading possessions, field position, physicality. Jedrick Wills is a bit of a liability at this point. I mean, he had a tough week last week. I really liked what I saw from the big guy, DeJuan Jones. I'm not saying he locked down TJ Watt, but that big son of a gun was fighting out there. He was just keeping it alive. He was surviving the down. And I think that they might have found their guy. I mean, he's not perfect, but they might have found their guy out there.
You see these two Deshaun Watson face masks?
Yeah.
What's
not calling
Deshaun
them.
Watson doing out there?
Touching people.
I mean, toting the rock and literally ripping down defenders by their face mask.
Touching the refs, touching the face mask.
It was very odd. To say he's at a crossroads, like there's no.
I've said this, and I think a lot of people assume that Deshaun's going to go back to who he was and all that stuff. But like, I know how mental this game is, and when you've got all that stuff following you around, and you escape from all those civil cases, and you're not going to jail or nothing. You're still out there on the field, and I'm pretty sure when he wakes up every day, he's thinking about that. He's thinking about, you know, the way people don't like him anymore. You know, the time off definitely makes him rusty, and he's just kind of up and down right now. And I think he puts a ceiling on their team that we didn't anticipate there being, especially with Nick Chubb out. So he's got to play better, and it's not like he just started. Last year, he had like a few games to ease into this thing in a Stefanski offense that should have been drawn up for him because he was just sitting on the sideline for most of the season. So it's not like he's a rookie. It's not like it's his first year in Stefanski's offense. He's got to take that next step. And then for the Titans, I think the whole key is how do you deal with the rushers? And when you looked at them last week, I thought, and I'll talk about this later, the Chargers let them off the hook. You know, and I thought they had a good plan, cut pro, screen, move the pocket. You get the tight end and running back chip to Dillard's side. You'll see that again. And they really struggled on Dillard's side anytime they could run games or that sort of thing. Take your shots when the guys get a blow. You know, get in your drop back passing game. If Myles Garrett can't play 80 plays, you know, take a look. Zadarius Smith, is he going to be up? That's what they did last week, and they hit two big shots. So, you know, hit play action shots. Tannehill's not great against zone. That's what they'll just sit back and run. The Browns cover guys are great, as much as you like to man them up. In some situations, I think Ward and Hopkins will be a fun matchup, but, you know, they'll just sit back and play zone and let the rushers rush. And I think that's probably the right thing to do. I want to shout out a guy on the Tennessee Titans who had a great week and flew under the radar. We were worried about Mac and Bosa, right? I think Bosa's playing really well. We just had Mac on the show. Mac's a dog. But Hubbard had a really nice game against him. I mean, Chris Hubbard's a guy who's been around. He's been kind of that swing tackle, Pittsburgh, Cleveland. And now he's in Tennessee, and that really allows them to take a deep breath, a sigh of relief, especially with Skoronski down. I don't know if he's going to play this week. He was down last week, and Dillard is an absolute liability over there. So having one tackle that you can say, okay, this guy can survive. He did a really nice job. I want to shout him out.
The Saints are 2-0 by a total of 4 points, and they're 2-point dogs in Green Bay this week. Aaron Jones practicing Thursday.
Yeah, this is the Mao Zedong game because, you know, like the Packers are publicly owned. That's all I had.
Oh, good. That's nice.
Yeah. Okay. So
That's well thought out.
thank you. I appreciate it. That we need more shots to Shaheed and Olave. Open this
Yeah.
thing up a little bit. I want to shout out Trevor Penning, who had a really good game last week. I was worried about Trevor Penning coming off of week one after asking Mickey Loomis, how's he doing? He was like, oh, he's doing pretty good. You know, he's coming along. When you got that kind of like tone out of a coach or a GM, you're like, okay, that's a thing in camp. Like, you need to see him take the next step in the passing game. And I thought he did a nice job. They have to run the ball. They got one more week without Alvin Kamara. And if they can come out of this thing unscathed, I think they're going to feel really good about their chances going down the stretch. I remember when I was in New England and we didn't have Tom Brady the first month of the season, it's like, man, if we can just get out of this thing. Now, obviously, the two teams that are very different, but Jimmy G stepped up. There have been guys that have stepped up for the Saints offensively. Taysom Hill had some nice design run stuff last week. And with Green Bay, we're going to find out if they're actually really bad as a run defense, because they've played. I mean, they had Bijan Robinson last week. They had the Bears the first week. It's a tough opponent on the ground. I mean, this has got to be a week that they swell up and say, hey, like, there's no Alvin Kamara here. Let's stand up to this run game. Let's stand up to the run game, and let's force Derek Carr to beat us. Jordan Love is your number one ranked passer through 2 weeks. Incredibly. Get your shots. You got 2 big DPI shots last week that paid off for you. Wicks played a good game. Dobbs is a weapon. Beware of that New Orleans rush group. I think this is a really fun matchup to watch because even with the injuries, and I don't know if Bakhtiari's up this week or not. I don't know if you guys know that, but the Green Bay line has done a pretty good job, even with the guys that they've had to shuffle. Their pressure rate has been like 10.2%. So a good matchup. You got a mobile quarterback who's not getting pressured. And the New Orleans defensive line played much better last week, I thought, winning their individual matchups. They got after the Titans, but they also manufactured a lot of pressure too. And I thought last week it was fun to see those guys winning on the edge. And the back end is tough for New Orleans with Lattimore, Adebo, and Honey Badger. So I actually think it's going to be a good game. That's why I put it up here in tier 1, which you can name the main tier.
Mm-hmm.
But that's my Mao Zedong game. What's next?
The return of Jeff Okudah. Atlanta's in Detroit. Atlanta's
The
2-0.
Okudah Bowl.
Detroit's 1-1. Basically, everybody questionable on the Detroit offense. This line started at Lions -5. It's now Lions -3.
So this is good theater, and I think there's going to be some shot taking. So this is the Abraham Lincoln game.
Oh.
And I actually think it might be the best game on the slate. I'm really excited about these two teams. Who would have thought 2 years ago you'd say, hey, Atlanta and Detroit, week 3 is going to be the best game on the slate. And I love Atlanta in this spot for a lot of reasons. Number one is St. Brown up? If he's not up, they really need to lean into Gibbs and Laporta.
Turf toe, careful.
You got to be careful with that turf toe. And, like for Atlanta, the run game, if I'm the Atlanta Falcons, if I'm Arthur Smith, I'm saying, hey, let's look at that Carolina game last year where with the season on the line, Detroit couldn't stop anything. I mean, it was 300 yards of rushing, inside zone, split inside zone, so where the tight end comes across the formation and kicks out. Anytime you had a puller kicking out, they had some good zone read stuff working. Carolina ran all over these guys, and they had to win that game. It turned out to keep them out of the playoffs, and that was a game they should have won. So 42 rushes for 300 yards. I know that's like last year's team, but I would be looking at that game plan, and there are things that Atlanta does well. The Falcons offensively saw the 3rd most heavy boxes last week, and they got to make them pay. They got to, when I've talked about Desmond Ridder, I think if he just takes a couple steps forward, this is a really dangerous team. And I'll be interested to see him taking those steps. Pitts on linebackers. Okay, last week we saw Seattle and Detroit play. Detroit usually plays a lot of quarters, right? They played more quarters in week 1 than week 2. And they stayed out of quarters, okay? And crossers are the thing you get in quarters for, right? And the tight ends absolutely killed the Lions last week. It was like the linebackers couldn't run with them. That's going to be a matchup. I don't know how you get there, but Pitts on the second level of that defense. And with Brian Branch stepping up, like the communication in the back end was such an issue that, by the way, you got to pick on number 23 for the Falcons. He absolutely got picked on last week, but Kirby Joseph cited crowd noise. Outward, I mean, he's like, well, communication was an issue. The home crowd was an issue for us. This is going to be a week playing an offense like this that's really dynamic and multiple, that you've got to communicate. And the second level, all eyes are going to be on them.
Pitts 4 catches on 8 targets through 2 games. Probably not enough.
It's got to be more, and this is a good week to get to it. And the last thing is this: the rushers were close a lot. Seattle did a good job last week against the Lions and keeping the numbers down in the pass rush. It wasn't like they hit Geno a bunch. It wasn't like they sacked him a bunch. But also Geno was getting the ball out at times and extending plays at times in a really veteran-savvy way that I don't know if Desmond Ridder is going to be able to do. McGarry, who graded out pretty terribly on PFF, actually had a decent game, I thought, against the Packers. I mean, he's a great matchup for Hutchinson. I think Hutchinson, with everything he throws at this guy, he's like a third-step turn guy, puncher. The inside move is going to be there. You've got to take advantage of that matchup better than the Packers did. And then Bergeron at left guard had a really rough week. So if you're Detroit's defense, you need to look at that. And then the Falcons' defense has limited explosives. I mean, look at where they are this year in 2 games. They've given up 2 explosives. And then the last 3 years, it was 15, 12, and 12 at this point. So they've improved. The safety plays improved. You got to test that Atlanta run defense. And I really like the rushers in that group. So this is going to be a fun game. I lean Atlanta, but this is going to be a fun game. The Abraham Lincoln game.
LA Chargers are at the Minnesota Vikings. Combined 0-4. 4 of those losses, all 4 losses by combined 14 points.
This is the William Henry Harrison game because one of these teams is going to be dead in about 30 days in. Because that was what happened to William Henry Harrison. He was like, congratulations, you're the president. And then it was like pneumonia.
Probably the way to do it.
Yeah, and I don't know when Brandon Staley, gets that tap on the shoulder on the team plane, or if the Vikings are going to be out of it after this Sunday. But one of these teams is going to be in serious trouble if they lose this game. So if you like desperation, if you like 2 teams that are just fighting for their lives, this is the game. Kirk Cousins has been balling, 112 passer rating. That's second in the league. And what's the answer for Jefferson? Okay, because he's going to run roughshod on you if you don't change something. And I think it's a little bit outside the box, but the guy that you traded to go get in New England, who's a good man corner, I know we forgot about him because they've been trying to do all this other stuff that he's not good at. J.C. Jackson, ton of crossers, guys running through the middle of the field, multiple levels of them. You got to man up some. And my question for the Chargers, and we've beaten this to death, but the matchups, I go back and look at that Chargers game. I felt like they let those guys in Tennessee off the hook, and there were too many plays that I was like, where's Joey Bosa? And I don't know if they're doing this like, hey, you're a veteran, we need to put you on a pitch count. At times we're going to move you inside. We're going to try to take advantage of matchups inside. I just felt like they got a little cute. It's like, you have an advantage there. Let's try to win, because on the other side, Hubbard had the thing locked down. And so when you look at the pass game, one week you got Taylor on Hill in the biggest third down of the game. The next week you've got Gilman on Hopkins in the biggest third down of the game. I'm starting to wonder if Staley knows how to dictate matchups. He might be a good scheme guy, but if you can't dictate the right matchups on Sunday, you get hurt. And so you should be able to stop the run. That's the good news. Atlanta, not a great rushing team, although they did grab Akers. And that's the type of game you come in and say, hey, we have to stop the run. It has to be like 10 yards. It has to be 15 yards. It has to be like, we have to play the game of our lives up front so that we can, with the box counts, play with how many guys we have back in coverage and take care of this problem, this burning building behind us.
Highest total of the week at about 54 points.
And it probably should be.
In a 1 point line.
You got to be better in the red zone. If they're better in the red zone, this overhits.
That's right.
I mean, they were two touchdowns out of 5 trips last week.
Buffalo.
And Herbert's going to see blitz. 54% on the year from Brian Flores. Herbert's going to see blitz. 54% on the year from Brian Flores. He's just pissed off. Greg Williams used to say, if I'm mad and we're not playing well, I'm just going to blitz. And it's the same thing with Flores. And I've been really impressed with how hard that defense has played. They came out Thursday. It's like that team got better. They're actually worse. Like they're 0-2. They'll be worse at the end of the season, but either the Eagles got a little worse or they got better because I felt like they were more competitive defensively. The second-level defenders were throwing their faces in the fan, as Al Groh used to say. And I really like what Brian Flores has done to change the attitude of this defense.
Hey, run to the roar, as Mike London used to say.
That doesn't work as well.
Buffalo is in Washington. This seems to be a stay-away game for the gambling community. Buffalo's favored by 6.5. Commies are 2-0.
Well, listen, this might be one of those cyclone games, right? I don't know if the cyclone's going to hit Washington, the nation's capital, but this is actually a sneaky tough spot for the Bills, I think. It's a big line. I think they're going to win the game. It's like a touchdown, that sort of thing. But Howell, I went back and looked at him, and, take it with a grain of salt. He's played Denver and Arizona. Okay, like these rushers are going to be pretty good. Matt Milano, they're the best screen game in the league right now. The Eric Bieniemy effect, their running back screens are the best in the league, and it's a real weapon if they can use it right. But a huge matchup for me is going to be getting that screen game going against an aggressive Buffalo defense and Matt Milano, who in my opinion is just as good as anybody when it comes to sniffing out screens and that sort of stuff that's off schedule. I thought Howell played well. Throws over the middle of the field. The 2-minute, where he hit the right sideline and hit the tight end for a big gain. The touchdown to McLaurin in traffic, he put it between 3 people. Now we're going to find out this week maybe if they're more like the no, yeah throws. It's been working out for him. But 2 of 5 in the red zone week 1 and then 3 of 3 in the red zone week 2. I think if you're Buffalo, you make them earn everything and try to tighten up in the red zone, because the passing game, if Howell plays this way, is a plus. They're actually not bad. Key matchups across the board. Spencer Brown against Sweat. And I went back and looked at these Commanders rushes, stealing a little bit here, talking about the defense, but a lot was made of all the pressure numbers that Young and Sweat had. I thought Jonathan Allen had the best game out of them. He was the most disruptive, and a lot of those pressures were Russell Wilson extending plays, which is good. It's good to see from Russell. The drop target was deeper, that whole thing. We'll talk about that when we get to the Dolphins game. But that's going to happen when you've got Russell out there. Invariably, you're going to get pressure because he extends ball games and plays. Sorry. I think those guys are going to have a similar test this week in Josh Allen, just a harder guy to get on the ground and a better team. In the James Cook performance for the Bills, can you build on that? It's going to be a challenge with this front. I'm actually interested in seeing this game.
This is the Ulysses S. Grant game because he was a commander, and he also knew Buffalo Bill.
Yeah, that's good. I wasn't sure. I thought it was.
There you go.
All right, so now we're into tier 2.
Pats are at the Jets.
Yeah, this is the Herbert Hoover game because one fan base is going to be depressed as fuck. Great Depression joke after this game, because somebody's walking out of that stadium and being like, hey, it might be over. Like, the Pats can't start 0-3. The Jets, if they have another terrible performance, it's just going to be like, how can we confidently stand up there and say after all these games that we've got our guy? That stuff sounded good week 1. There were a lot of people that thought we were being hard on Zach Wilson. I'm sorry, but quarterback is the one position you can't afford to wait on if you're a good team. And that's why I'm harder on that position than I am some of the other positions. So, Pats, Jets, last year, you think New England, hey, they're going to have some exotic shit to scare these young players. And Zach Wilson's a young quarterback who turns the ball over, and he didn't play well against the Pats. I mean, he threw guys a couple of balls. And some of them were really like boneheaded Zach Wilson short circuit kind of plays. But Bill did not really get exotic. I mean, they kind of just played high safeties and disrupted in the pass rush and waited for him to make mistakes. So we'll see what they come out with. Zach Wilson under 50% completion so far this year, two touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and he's taken 12 sacks. And Zach Wilson in 4 games against the Patriots, 49.6% completion, 2 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and 12 sacks. So, you talk about the Jets O-line right now. A lot of people are saying that the Jets' offensive line is trash. I don't think that's necessarily true, and I was one of the guys that said that you should go out and get a tackle. I'm not saying that doesn't still happen, but their aspirations might be different. I actually like the guys inside. I actually think no matter who plays the Cowboys right now, you're going to give it. Cowboys have over 60 pressures. So when you play the Cowboys, you can just flush it, especially with Zach Wilson back there playing quarterback because downs get extended. Things are not always the way they seem on paper. I think if you're the Jets, you should go back and look at that Miami 4-minute stuff and the way they ran the football because maybe there's something you can take from that. Now, the box counts are going to be a little bit different because you're not worried about the greatest show on turf here with Kurt Warner and all those guys like Tua and those guys. So I think for the Pats, this game is about getting back to who they are. Like red zone, situational football, avoiding the turnovers. They had the right script last week, but they're not doing Patriot stuff. So I need something out of Thornton. You know, again, you pick Juju over the guy that went to Vegas and Jacoby Myers. Like, is that working out for you? Like, I'm scratching my head on some of this stuff, but they've got to get back to Patriot stuff. The thing they have working for them is the Jets played a lot of snaps last week, 83 snaps defensively. And I think where last week Bill's strategy was we're going to make the offense work and force them to make a mistake. This week, we're going to make that defense work. So I think it's time of possession. It's wearing those guys down.
Week after, Pats are at the Cowboys. The Jets have the Chiefs and the Eagles, 2 of the next 3. Very
That's right.
important game for both teams.
That's right.
Broncos at Dolphins.
I don't have a president.
A bad
this
team
game.
at a good team.
Yep.
I've heard Lauren Boebert being thrown around. Because was she or was she not vaping?
Vaping
Yeah.
in the theater.
Yeah. Talking
Yeah.
about world leaders here.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Yeah.
good. World leaders.
Yeah.
She broke up with that guy because he was a liberal.
Oh, right.
So anyways, the interesting I took away, people are talking about, bench Russell Wilson. I don't know what corner of the internet that's coming from, but they scored fucking 35 points or something last week. I mean, they're moving the football, and Russ is looking more like Russ. The target depth up from 5 yards was kind of shallow. I mean, I'm all about getting this guy to buy in at times, but you got to let him be him some. And his drop target was back there at 12 yards again. That's the old Russ. Dolphins, are they without Armstead? Are they without Phillips? Are they without Waddle? Time of tape. I mean, I think we'd be making a bigger deal about it if it was Waddle and he was out, but the other 2 guys, I'm not sure. I think Phillips probably plays. Here are the rushers that need to step up for Denver. Benito had a hell of a game last week. He was the best edge guy on the field almost. Like he had the most clean wins out of the edge guys. And he almost had 3 sacks. I mean, he almost had a few, but he's got to cash in on that stuff. Cooper's got to play well. Randy Gregory, and Vance Joseph brings it. I kind of feel like if you're the Broncos and you're like, we're probably not going to win this game. We don't like our matchups. You do something exotic and just start fucking trying to hit this guy and disrupt him and throw off the timing. And if you get burnt on a deep ball, oh, well, that's 5 less minutes you're out on defense getting the ball driven on you. I know that's kind of not like a pro football strategy, but if I was playing these guys, I might just say fuck it because I don't like the matchups. Xavier Howard's going to travel with Cortland Sutton on the other side of the ball. And Denver in the secondary doesn't have a second corner. Mathis got absolutely singled out last week. 8 targets, 7 receptions, 1 touchdown, 17 yak yards. And I'm really impressed on the Dolphins side with the gap scheme stuff and the sweep concepts they came out with last week. It's another element of their game that they can use late in the season.
The Indianapolis Colts, originally from Baltimore, headed to Baltimore to face the 2-0 Ravens, 8.5-point favorites.
Is your alarm going off?
No, but someone's is, which is interesting.
Really interesting.
Yes.
I mean, it just keeps going off.
It keeps going.
Oh, it's on my computer. My computer has a timer. Okay, that means we're supposed to be done with this segment. But these fucking 2 terms.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, who's the guy who was in there for 3, huh?
It was Roosevelt.
For 4.
So this is
Go.
so Colts Ravens. I don't have
4.
Colts Ravens. I don't have a president here. But it's going to be a physical game. It's beware of the Minshew magic. Beware of the front. You're coming off a game where Monken and that offense took a big step forward. I've talked at length about how much I like the way the Baltimore Ravens looked last week. But I think this team is scrappy, the Colts, and they jumped all over Houston. They hung tough with Jacksonville. You know, we got to learn how to get down at quarterback, but that's why you have a Minshew. You got to stop that front. They were really big last week against the Texans. And I can't wait to see the Kenny Moore Zay Flowers matchup, you know, on the side TV there, because this is a mid-tier game, bottom of the mid-tiers. Could be closer than you think.
Zay 4 for 62 last week. Beat the Bengals. I was wrong about that one. Lamar looked very good.
Yeah, Lamar looked great.
The Bears, very chaotic start to a season. They're nearly 2 touchdown underdogs to the Chiefs, winners and coverers in their Week 2 matchup in Jacksonville.
Yeah, the Bears, like, this is one of those games where your back's against the wall in every way. I mean, it's just the sky is falling there. I don't think if you haven't been in a facility in the NFL when things are really bad, you don't know what, like, I mean, in the sports world, I think for my money, and I don't have to go play in the NBA or hockey, or it doesn't get any more mentally taxing than that. I mean, the amount of time between the games to just let something fester, the fact that, you know, you're emasculated when you go out and lose games like this. For the quarterback, he gets up there in front of the media this week, and, you know, I thought he was right on for a while when he was talking about I was too robotic. He's using words like instinctive, like these are Bud's words. I want to hear from him. He's self-aware. He's like, I'm playing like a fucking robot out there. But I don't like the coaching, and he might be right. But let me tell you something. I played for probably fucking 7 coordinators or something. I didn't like them all. And I didn't like, and you know, like when you're a
Power rank them.
Yeah, I can't. When you're in there in you're a high draft pick, guess what? People are seeing this with high draft picks left and right. It's almost like the situation you enter into matters. And I think, you know, as good a situation as this seemed like when we were hyping up DJ Moore and we were hyping up, you know, you're drafting a tackle who's looked really good. Now you've got you know, this Braxton Jones kid on IR, so the offensive line's in shambles even more. But, like, you add a vet on defense, we're like, oh, they're trying to win now. None of that's any good if you can't develop your quarterback. And I think 2 things can be true. Number one, Justin Fields is too robotic. He's too slow as a processor right now. I think he's like the opposite of Tua. He's got this big arm. He's got, like, all these athletic, you know, bells and whistles that I've fallen for. And I'm partial to that because I used to rush these guys. And I think about top-end production. But Tua is a guy, for me, that snuck under the radar because I'm like, he's this small guy, not a huge arm. You know, the whole thing. I had this sample size and with B-Flow where he kind of ruined the kid. And you can see the jump he took by having the right coordinator in the building and the right weapons around him. And he doesn't need to throw the ball 60 yards down the field. I don't need to be wowed with his – What I'm wowed with Tua is how quickly he processes and how quickly they attack the middle of the field and how quickly they get to their read that they like and the way he schemed things up. And Justin Fields is the opposite. He's back there, you know, baking a cake. And, yeah, he's got a strong arm. Yeah, he's impressive athletically. But if you can't process, that's the one hardest thing to figure out when you're evaluating a quarterback, right? Like, you can look, but – again, the context of what college offense was he in? Who's the OC? Did they develop him? Getsy and Eberflus have not done a good enough job of getting this kid to play free. Whoever's fault that is, I know that coaching has something to do with it. But when you're Justin Fields, you're not playing well enough to go throw people under the bus repeatedly. Oh, second screen we ran. I don't know about the call, the whole thing. Well, don't hit him in the dick with the ball. And then, like, you know, 5 days later – you've got Alan Williams' house being raided. This is unprecedented, gross stuff that you're having to talk about and answer questions. I mean, what's media availability right now in Chicago like? I'm hiding in the shower. That's what I used to do when it was just ugly. Sometimes I'd answer questions, but sometimes I didn't feel like it. I'd just go take an hour-long shower. So, you know, like, you get in there and they're all just crowded around your locker. What do you want me to say after a game like that? What do you want Unique Ngakoue to say, who has 7 pressures or something? He's been playing well. He's going to have to go win. This is it. I mean, like, we haven't even talked about the Chiefs. They have problems of their own, but they seem small compared to the Bears' problems. And I think one of the problems they do have is the offensive line. So somebody's got to be a hero up front and win. And you know what I would do? Fuck it. I would drop 8. I would do the Cincinnati Bengals model, drop 8. You like their matchups that you have in the secondary. You think that's a relative strength for you. flood these fucking zones. Like rally and tackle him, spy him with Edmonds, add a late rusher, because the plays are going to get extended. And if you got a shot, you want to outnumber them. And to me, that worked for Cincinnati. Now it's not going to be that easy to just repeat that, but I would mix in some of that if I were them. Yeah, the Alan Williams thing. It's really hard to go rally after something like that. It's easier to rally when somebody like dies, because you're emotional. You can convert that into some sort of motivation. You feel together. Like after your DC's fucking house gets raided by the FBI, it's not like, let's go win one for the Gipper. It's hard to do that. So I'm not even being funny. It's really hard to do that. I can't imagine them getting on the plane and going to play this game. But rock bottom can be good for teams. Let's see how they do.
We should shout out a Chief. Do you have a favorite one in history?
Sitting Bull.
I'm partial to Geronimo myself. The Steelers are at the Raiders on Sunday Night Football. All-time uni matchup. Both teams 1-1.
Oh, beautiful.
It's
Beautiful stadium. If you're going to do indoor football, I love the stadium.
Yep. And two teams who we don't really know who they are yet.
No, I have a feeling I know who these guys are. I hope so, because I'm on both win totals. One way, the other way. I mean, the Raiders down, the Steelers up. This would be a huge win for them mathematically, just to get to that 8.5 or whatever it is.
Huge win for them, for you.
Yes. Huge win for them, for me, and for them. And it's a get-well game for Pittsburgh's offense. I think, the line's moved in this thing, so take from that what you will. But more 12 personnel, man. Have an answer for Crosby. I think that's the whole thing. He's already, the Steelers have already seen Bosa. They've already seen Garrett. They've seen like terrors on the end. But they've also seen good defenses, and this is not one. You've got guys out there like Jacorian Bennett, who got picked on last week, and a guy you probably want to find a matchup you like there. And then, to me, the tight ends are the biggest problem in the run game. I mean, like, they got singled out after that game. Like, that matters. Cutting a guy on the backside, getting somebody blocked, just giving an effort. I didn't think the tight ends played great. I also think they had a really tough test. And, the boxes are pretty loaded when, you got Kenny Pickett back there playing quarterback, and they haven't pushed the ball downfield like that. So for the Steelers, continue to get the ball to George Pickens. I'd like to see more 12. I want to see Darnell Washington and build on the run game that the Buffalo Bills showed they could hit against these guys. On the other side of things, it's a get-back game for Josh Jacobs. The defense was really hard to watch at times for the Steelers in the run game. They got some smaller bodies. Of course, the Browns can take advantage of that. I don't know if the Raiders can, but we'll see. And then Peterson and Devontae, if that ends up being a matchup at any juncture on Sunday, is going to be a lot of fun.
I don't know if there's a word for the thing that I'm about to do.
Yeah.
But do you prefer the name Gimme Garoppolo or Penny Kickett?
Penny Kickett.
Both pretty cool, huh?
More so Penny Kickett.
FBI raid, you say? The last game should be the Donald Trump game.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Okay, all righty.
Oh, that's good.
Cowboys
Yeah.
at Cardinals. Cardinals somehow lost to the New York Giants last week, and the Cowboys are perhaps one of the NFL's elite.
Yeah, I was going to call it the James Madison game because he was 5-4, and I'm going to take a good short look at this game. But I might call it the Hunter Biden game because you'd have to be on crack to watch this game. Some of you guys, we just sent Trump the FBI thing.
Both
we're just
sides.
being, hey, we're just being, obviously you know who I can't stand, but
Both
we're
sides.
being fair here.
Yep.
Somebody's like, I'm not watching this podcast again. Get over it. American politics is it's a sideshow. All right, so for the Cowboys, this is about it, and it's the breaking news that came across the screen a little bit ago for us. Trayvon Diggs out for the year, ACL, happened in practice. Terrible luck. Anytime you lose one of your best players, it hurts, but when you lose them in practice, I mean, the mood around the building is not a good one. And if you are going to lose, a great corner, a guy who makes great plays on the ball, takes big risks. I mean, he's like a receiver out there playing corner. This is the team that can overcome it. It's the Cowboys. I mean, they've pressured opposing quarterbacks over 60 times this year, and they are hell on wheels. So whoever replaces him, Igbenogany or Jordan Lewis, you just can't get beat bad. You can't give up big plays. You can't be a deficiency. You can't be a huge eyesore out there. I mean, let the pass rush do the work. I don't know what kind of different coverages they might call with him out. I mean, probably tinker with some things, be a little less aggressive at times. But I still think Dan Quinn's going to Dan Quinn. That show's going to go on. And it sucks. It sucks for one of the great players in the game. And they've got to rally this weekend and go take it out on the Cardinals, which shouldn't be hard. So I thought we weren't going to have anything to say about this game, but this is one that will be interesting, at least from a standpoint of how will they adjust when they take the field. They lose that big playability, so somebody's got to step up and create turnovers because that's what you lose with him. And listen, like, they could go out and make a move. I mean, we talked about Kenny Moore with the Eagles. I know Dante Jackson was mentioned in the room here. Good player in Carolina, 2 years left on his deal. That would cost him $1 million this year. If you wanted to go a little steeper on the back end of this thing with Carlton Davis and the Bucks, I mean, he'd cost you $1 million. That would jump to 14, but he's 27. He's in his prime. So, again, it's an injury that you're not looking to replace this guy, but you have Super Bowl aspirations. So if this doesn't work out on the field, sorting itself out, they could be players before the trade deadline.
Houston is at Jacksonville.
Did we just skip Arizona?
Well, you said you were going to take a good short look at it.
Yeah, I think we should just set an over-under on sacks. 8? 7.5.
For just Micah?
No, just for the team. Just for the team.
Is Dobbs elusive? Can he get away from
Micah Parsons is more elusive.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we've got Texans-Jags.
Texans have given up 56 points. Jags don't yet have it cranking, but the pieces appear to be in place.
I just want to see the Jags get more surgical in the passing game. I mean, this is one of those games you expect to win. You want to be careful with these guys. Stingley's down, so second level's not as good as it would have been a week ago. But I think you want to see the passing game just be more exact, more crisp. I mean, it's still a decent challenge. You got to be better in the red zone. I want to see more tank. And then Stroud got hit. Isn't it amazing that going to the season, you're patting these guys on the back for saying, hey, we're investing in protecting our quarterback. And 2 weeks in, we're like, holy shit, this guy's going to get killed. They had 4 guys down last week. He got hit a ton. We talked about the Indy D-line. Just want to see them take care of this kid.
I didn't feel very crisp out there. Who said it?
I don't know.
Jeff
You?
Garcia.
Jeff Garcia, okay.
A long time ago.
Yeah.
Panthers 0-2 at Seahawks 1-1. Several non-participants for Seattle thus far this week, but that can change in a hurry.
Got a big teaser on the Seahawks. One half of it, I really like them in this spot, honoring the LOB. Okay, guys like Red Bryant, Michael Bennett, and fucking Cliff Averill, and all those DBs that had a part in it too. But it was mostly the D line, in my opinion. I'm just joking. I think the atmosphere is going to be live. I'm worried about Bryce Young. I'm worried he's beat up after that game. I looked at Seattle's pass chart, and last week, oh my God, green dot city, dude. It was just like, where are the incompletions? I mean, and it wasn't like they were just taking checkdowns. This motherfucker Gino, man. I mean, he had probably 5, 7, 15-yard plus kind of explosive plays. He was Jonathan Gannon out there.
Yeah.
And the most important thing is going to be the run game. Get that going if you're Seattle, because you haven't, and Carolina hasn't been great. It's the kind of game that you can hopefully, if you think you're good enough, work your stuff. This is a tool you got to have in your toolbox. It's like Kenneth Walker was all the rage, and then injuries and the way they've started this season, I want to see them run the football.